You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCCW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
And welcome to the Good News program. You're listening here on, we're broadcasting from downtown Conroe. If you're listening on the FM dial, we're on 104.5 and 106.1. I am your host, Ted Cox. I'm glad you're with us today. We have a couple of guests, and the first guest in studio is Elise Eaton. We'll get her introduction in just a moment. And we're going to be talking about homeschooling. I know that as a parent of a homeschool teenager now, there were a lot of concerns and a lot of nervousness and a lot of things that we were certainly ill prepared to do. And I thought it would be helpful for us to have Elise in, who you'll hear all about her, but founded and is the managing director of a homeschool co-op here in the general area, just south of us, down 2978. We'll talk a little bit more, but I just thought it's always good as we are kicking off the show. We have a couple of hours together just to kind of remind everybody that while we're bombarded with bad news 24/7, I mean, you can scarcely turn on the radio or the television, and you certainly can't get through any of the cable news networks and just realize that it's just 24/7 bad news. We're just at each other's throats. There just seems to be hate everywhere and wars and rumors of wars. And so we decided to create this show just to take a respite, even if it's just a couple of hours on a Thursday afternoon, to celebrate people in the community who are just ordinary people like you and I, who are doing extraordinary things. And certainly, as the name you'll hear in just a moment, extraordinary education would apply, running a homeschool co-op. And since I've been associated with it now for 3 or 4 years, I know that between the parents and the students and the teachers, that it is truly the definition of herding squirrels. So this is again a moment that we're going to take about an hour with Elise, talk about homeschooling in general, a lot about her background and what she was thinking when she got into homeschool. And the homeschool organization she runs, but also we want it to be a period of time where we impart to folks who may be considering it what they may need to think about. That probably, while you would be good to do all the preparation and research, that it is not as well. Let me say it a different way. The benefits to the child certainly far outweigh any of the nervousness up front for the parents. And so we'll talk all about this. So why don't I go ahead and invite Elise to come on mic and make an introduction, say hello, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into all of the fun stuff associated with homeschool.
Well, my name is Elise Eaton. I'm the director at Extraordinary Education. We've been in existence since 2006. We started off at a church in the Woodlands and started meeting there, and then now we meet at a much larger campus.
Yes.
Off 2978, sort of the backside of the Woodlands, between the Woodlands and Tomball.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that you have been in education for quite a while, and know that there were some good things with the education system, but certainly some things that you weren't overly happy with. And so tell us a little bit about maybe your background in education and kind of what you liked and what you didn't like, and then what caused you to say, there's probably a better way to do this.
Well, of course, my
and then we'll talk about what this is.
My degree's in elementary education,
okay,
bilingual education, and I taught in Texas public schools for 10 years. Of course, when I was younger.
Yes.
And I enjoyed teaching. I mean, I still enjoy teaching, but what I didn't enjoy was the school system.
Okay.
Very limiting, and the farther we go in regulations and things, the harder it becomes for teachers to actually teach.
Okay.
You're much more restricted on teaching literally to the test.
Right.
Literal teaching. There's very little flexibility in teaching what I would consider the fun stuff. All
Right.
the fun has been taken out of teaching and school. At least that's the way it was for me.
Okay.
When I got further into teaching, much more requirements on taking benchmark tests, and every few weeks we had to take another test.
Right.
And so you spent all your time preparing for the next test, and then there was really little time to actually teach the material.
Yeah, and we experienced the same thing. Our child went through public school in elementary school, went to a private school for part of his middle school, and of course now is at Extraordinary Education. And we experienced that, and that was part of our frustration, that it would just be a ramp up to the test. He would memorize for the test, take the test, and then if you asked him anything after that, it was just not retained, and that was one of our frustrations as well. Is you're just learning the teaching methodology is just to learn for the test, get them through the test, and get on, to the next test. So, and I always wondered too that why the 3 R's, only one of them began with R. So I always thought when you begin with the premise that the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, only one of them begins with R, that you might have a problem.
Well, and I think our society has gotten away from the idea of what education is really about.
Right.
Because the word education comes from Latin, and it comes from ex, out of, and ducere, which is to lead.
Okay.
So education is about leading out of something.
Okay.
And my way of thinking of it, you're leading out of ignorance.
Right.
Leading out of immaturity into
Right.
maturity. But education is all about leading.
Right.
And I think that our society has gotten into the idea that education is about filling.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's more about stuffing facts in, and it's not about being.
Right. Right. Well, and you've been associated with the educational system for how long now? Don't give it away. but about 20.
Probably closer to 30-ish years.
So have you seen? So when you got into education, did you see that that's what you were doing, the sort of leading out of ignorance, and you were able to teach, and then there was a progression towards? And so what were
well, when I started teaching in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Middle 80s. Early
when you were
to middle
12.
80s.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
And I was teaching in a bilingual classroom, and we were
okay.
fairly insulated from all the requirements that were coming down to teach to specific TEKs, texts, whatever the acronym of the day is.
Right.
Because they hadn't really done them for the bilingual classroom. So we had a lot of freedom to teach what we learned in college, really, what we learned how to teach. Okay. And then as time went on, there was a lot more emphasis on
standardization.
The standardized testing. Really.
Yeah, I mean, again, from not knowing the history of the educational system and why it was created, just an observation as a parent, and of course, looking back on when I went through school, it does seem like the entire educational system was built almost from a model of the Industrial Revolution. That is to say, I'm going to spank out 100,000 of the same type of Fords, and regardless of the capabilities or the talents or whatever it happens to be of the individual student, I still am going to want to knock out 100,000 or a million or several million of exactly the same kind of kid. And so, but now being on the other side as a teacher, I realize that it is really difficult because you do have students within the class that are all over the place in terms of their abilities and so forth. So I do realize that there are benefits to standards, that is to say, we know that you go from grade 5 to grade 6 because you've accomplished X, Y, and Z, or you get into college based on the accomplishment of an SAT or whatever. I do understand the benefits of that, but it does seem like that it moved from when we were kids to when my kids were going through, or my kids were going through, is that was all there was. There was nothing but standard. And again, you can talk to this. I don't mean to monologue, but there also seemed to be a lot of other stuff coming into the school and into the classroom that had nothing to do with education. And so I wonder, if you can talk a little bit about what else was coming in. And I know in talking to you that the engagement of the parent is, I think, more critical perhaps to the success of the student than anything that the school system or a teacher can do. So in any of your observations would be?
Part of my view of education is that, for one thing, kids are not cut from cookie cutters.
Right.
They're all different.
All different.
And there is more than one way to teach something.
Right. And
I feel like our school system is getting to the point that there is only one way to do it. And it's almost so cut and dried that it doesn't allow for variation.
Right.
Especially the more we get into the Common Core.
Right.
Because the Common Core isn't just the student will learn multiplication and division.
Right.
It's that the student will learn exactly this way to do multiplication and no other way.
Right.
And the student will do it on this date or at this specific point. And not all students are ready to do that at that specific point.
Right.
It really leaves out the idea of individuality.
Yeah, I remember when my son came through, and I think it was either the 4th or the 5th grade. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I remember as they were beginning to move from addition and subtraction to multiplication. And I remember when we were growing up and going through, it was a multiplication table. And then when he brought home something that just looked, my wife and I would just look at it and go, okay, this was somebody's PhD dissertation. Because you're thinking, this is the goofiest way to get to a math problem. You take 5 and you take 3 from 5 and you get it. It's like, why not 5 times 5 is 25? And so I know that you as an educator certainly saw and experienced some of those frustration, and we as parents were feeling a lot of that frustration as well. So, let's take our first break here, and because we've already sort of established the common ground that there was a great deal of frustration, that perhaps it could be done better. And so as we come back from the break, we'll kind of pick up what did that better look like for you. And then we'll start talking about some of the specifics of the benefits of homeschool and so forth. So join us after the break. We'll continue to talk with Elise Eaton, the founder director of Extraordinary Education, and we'll talk to you on the other side of the break.
Hey guys, I'm Joey Savage.
Corey DLG.
We are Nerd Thug Radio. Catch us every Monday from 1 to 3 and check out our website, nerdthugradio.com.
We like to talk about quilting, horseback riding, and baking quiche.
Actually, we don't, but we do like talking nerdy to you.
That's right. Every Monday from 1 to 3 p.m., hashtag talking nerdy to you. Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
And welcome back to the Good News Show. This is Ted Cox, your host. Every Thursday afternoon from 1 to 3, we're joined in the studio by Elise Eaton, who is the founder and director of Extraordinary Education, a homeschool co-op. And while we were both sitting around lamenting in the first segment about the frustrations of the public school system, we certainly don't want to just kind of end there with the problem. we want to start talking a little bit about what prompted the solution and what got her into it. So I'll turn it back over to Elise and kind of say, okay, it sounds like we have common ground on frustration. Now what?
Well, when I was teaching public school, my children came to the school where I was teaching, which was very convenient and actually really great because I got to know their teachers really well. They were
Right.
my colleagues. I have 4 kids.
Yes.
2 of them are in their 30s, and then I have one son who's 23, and then one that's just a senior this year. He's 17.
Yeah.
My kids, my 2 that are in their 30s, were my first homeschoolers, but
Okay.
they ended up graduating from public school.
Okay.
So there was a period of time, especially my son, my second child. He was struggling a lot in school with reading. His sister, not so much, but he struggled a lot with school.
Okay.
And finally, by the 5th grade, he was struggling a whole lot.
Okay.
But the school was never really doing much to help him along at school. Only, whatever I could do with him
Right.
at home at night. When you get home and you're having dinner, and there's not a lot of time to fit a lot of help in there.
Right.
So by the time he was in the 5th grade was when I said, can we, because he was finally failing like everything.
Okay.
And I said, can we test him? Maybe he could go, into the pull-out reading program or do some other things. And although he was 2 to 3 years behind in language arts, all the, grammar, spelling, reading, all those things,
Right. Right.
he was far ahead in math and science and some of those subjects. And at that time, I don't know if it's still the same way these days, but at that time,
Right.
if you averaged everything together, he was
He
considered
was
to be on grade level.
Yes.
Therefore, he didn't qualify for any
Right.
special help.
So part of it he wasn't getting, and part of it he was bored because he was beyond it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And most kids are that way.
Most kids are that way.
Most kids
Yes.
are not the same across the board.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
usually have areas in which they're really good and they need more challenge.
Right.
And then they have other areas in which they're not as good and they might need some extra help.
Right.
That was at the point at which I had my 3rd child and I was not teaching school at that point.
Okay.
So I found myself with some time on my hands and a child who really needed some help. And up until that point, I kind of thought homeschoolers were a little weird
Yeah. Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
I was in the public school system.
Right.
But I was so frustrated with him not being able to get any help, considering that the school said, well, he probably has dyslexia,
Okay.
but we don't want to label him with dyslexia.
Okay. Okay.
And so I started looking into it and discovered that my school, the reason they didn't want to label him was because their dyslexia program consisted of 0 students.
Okay. So they would have to apply resources.
They would have to, they
an
would have
IEP or whatever it was
Right.
called back in the
back in the day.
Yes.
So my solution was, you know what, the school isn't going to do anything for him. He really needs some help, and he's not going to be able to be successful in middle school and high school
Right.
if he can't read.
Right. Right.
So I pulled him out of school in the middle of the year, and his sister was in the 7th grade, and we just went all in, and she came out in the middle of the 7th grade, and we homeschooled the rest of that year.
Okay. Well, and I know too, just for pulling it out, we did the same thing with our son. Pulled him out at roughly the middle of the year, a little before. Now, we haven't lived in Texas and certainly haven't been involved in homeschooling nearly as long as you have. It's only been in the last couple of years. Has Texas always been a pretty homeschool-friendly state? And has it gotten more or less homeschool-friendly, let's call it?
Well, Texas has always had homeschoolers.
Okay. Okay.
There was a period of time when it got to be difficult to homeschool because the school districts were putting a lot more pressure on parents, and there still aren't really any laws about homeschooling in Texas. There are some court cases that have been decided.
Okay.
And so really the law in Texas is based on the court case. decisions.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that there
There's
was nothing governing.
There
So
are
it's just the educational standards to get in, or rather to receive a high school diploma. Is that the only then, or is that the main thing that's associated with homeschooling?
It's complicated.
Okay. I know, because even as a homeschool parent, and as much research as we've done, we still are not completely sure that we understand every single thing. We have a pretty good handle, but not everything. So
there was a famous court case in the 80s, a Leaper versus Arlington.
Okay.
And in that decision, it was decided that if a student was being educated by the parents in a bona fide manner,
okay,
so for real,
okay,
and if they were using a curriculum,
okay,
and the curriculum and it could be books, workbooks, something from an electronic screen,
okay,
online. Well, back then it was videotapes.
Right.
They had different correspondence courses and things that kids could do, but as long as they were using a curriculum, and in this court case it says the curriculum can be from any source.
Okay.
So you didn't have to use state approved curriculum.
Okay.
And as long as you're doing it in a bona fide manner, and you're teaching, I'm trying to remember the subjects.
Yeah.
Reading, spelling, mathematics.
Okay.
Grammar, and a study of good citizenship.
Wow. Okay. So nowadays spelling is no longer a course; it's an app. Not sure what happened to citizenship, but
yeah.
Okay.
And so there's just a really short list of subjects that they expect you to be teaching as a homeschool family.
Okay.
But it doesn't tell you a specific curriculum that you have to teach.
Okay.
There's no specified number of days. There's no specified requirements to meet any state standards.
Okay. So that's interesting. Okay.
And there's no testing required for homeschoolers.
Okay. Just entrance into college.
If you're doing, yes. If
Okay.
you want to go to college, then of course you would look at what the college is requiring, not what the state is requiring, because every college has different requirements.
Right. Yeah, I know as we were beginning to look into colleges in different states, in particular, we were looking at a college in Washington State. Their curriculum for the public school was different than the one for Texas. And we contacted the college, and we realized that in the final 2 years, if he wanted to go there, we were going to have to change what we had planned in terms of our curriculum, specifically so that he could get into that college. So, yeah, you're exactly right. There didn't appear to be any criteria in order to test out of high school, other than perhaps a GED. But we were starting to look at what colleges might he go to, and is it different than Texas? And what do we need to change in order to get him in?
And as far as Texas goes, there are laws in the state of Texas that Texas public colleges are required to accept a homeschool diploma the same as any other private school diploma.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
So they are required to recognize your homeschool diploma. And as far as the state of Texas is concerned, homeschoolers are considered a type of private school.
Okay.
So anything that would apply to a private school applies to your homeschool.
Okay.
In essence,
keep good records.
Yes.
That's
in essence,
the key.
your homeschool is a private school.
Okay.
A very, very, very small, exclusive private school.
Right.
But it is a private school, and you get to be the school counselor, and you get to keep the records of your own child's education, and you are the one who gets to make the transcript to send to this college. Okay.
And we have about a minute before we go to the bottom of the hour break. So we've talked a little bit about that, about you and your kids. So how did that begin to extend? And we'll pick it up on the other side of the break on how did it extend from just you and your family to something more broad. So you have your two children and one young child. You're homeschooling and caring. So how did that go from homeschooling them to saying, I think we can do it a better way, which became obviously extraordinary education?
Well, I will just say that homeschooling my two kids at home and coming out in the middle of the year, it was hard to get connected to some other homeschoolers because we didn't know anybody else who was homeschooling. And we struggled to get connected with other homeschoolers.
Okay.
There's more ways to do it now
Okay.
as opposed to the early 90s, middle 90s.
Right.
A lot more ways. But that's one of the things that motivated me to start Extraordinary Education, was because it was so hard for them. In fact, it was so hard for them that the following year, their friends kept contacting them so much that they really, really wanted to go back to public school so they could be with their friends.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I do want to pick up that as we go to our break at the bottom of the hour. I do want to pick that up because that was one of our primary fears, was socialization. So we'll pick up that in Extraordinary Education on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. We'll talk to you right after the bottom of the hour break.
Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station, with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Just contact the station on irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Hey, Montgomery County, it's me, C.C. Holmes. And I would personally like to take this time to invite you, that's right, you, to join me every Saturday and Sunday from 3 until 7 p.m. where I will bring you the very best of smooth jazz, classic jazz, and indeed, yes, the soulful sounds of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So come along and get jazzy with me. That's right, jazzy. Right here, of course, on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 FM, or worldwide at irlonestar.com.
And welcome back to the Good News Show on Lone Star Community Radio. You're listening to us if you're zooming up and down 45 on 104.5 and 106.1. And whenever you get to your destination, you can pick us back up on irlonestar.com and either stream the rest of the show and the rest of the shows that follow ours. Or if you want to take a look at previous shows, both ours, the Good News Show, and others on lonestar.com, irlonestar.com, excuse me. You can look at our podcast and our YouTube. We capture not only the audio, which some of you are listening to right now, but we also capture the video, so you'll be able to see us on YouTube. So today we're talking in our first hour with Elise Eaton, and we're talking about homeschooling in general, and then we'll talk a little bit about her, what she decided to create, which is a little different than a private school and a little different from other schools that are out, which is what we really liked. So we'll pick up the conversation. I think in the first segment, we talked a little bit about frustration. In the second segment, we talked about what do we do with this frustration on our own. So where we left off, your two older kids were homeschooled for a while, and then through continued communication and desire to see their friends again, they actually ended up and finished in public school.
Yes, they did.
And then your next two. So go ahead and kind of pick up on the story. I don't want to step over your words.
I'll just say that we enjoyed our time of homeschooling.
Now, how long did you homeschool?
Just the rest of that year.
Okay, gotcha.
The rest of that year we homeschooled. We did some really fun stuff. We took a 2-week Texas history tour and went and saw all the Texas history sites.
Okay.
And that was our Texas history curriculum. And we just did a lot of fun things together.
Well,
but
that's a good idea.
You can't, for a 5th and 7th grader, really make up for being a 5th and 7th grader. You can't. Mom isn't a friend, and I mean, in that sense.
Yeah, so, mom's already mom. Now mom's teacher.
Yeah, and because I was not able to really connect with a lot of other homeschoolers at that time, I really was not able to replace that for them, and they needed that. Kids need the social connections. I agree with that wholeheartedly. There are so many ways to get social connections as a homeschooler that the argument that homeschoolers are not socialized is just like laughable. Yeah.
But that was our concern as we were taking our son out of public school and private school into homeschool. That was our primary concern. We were pretty confident that we could educate him and or piece together, as you've already talked about, curricula and different things to educate him. Our primary concern was the socialization. Would he lose that? As it turns out, of course, he didn't. Interestingly, the folks that he has become friends with within the homeschool setting, extraordinary education specifically, are people just like him. They like gaming. They like, the things that he likes. And he was actually better able to find kids that were a lot like him that he's made really good friends with, your son being one of them. So go ahead and pick up again. I don't want to.
So when my younger two children are, quite a bit younger than my older kids. And when it got time for my third child to enter into first grade kindergarten, we started looking at what we were going to do at that point. And I did visit a lot of different schools. I visited a lot of private schools. I visited the local public school that that he would be zoned to. And I just was not confident that he was going to get what he needed.
Okay.
Academically.
Sure. Okay.
At the opportunities that were available at that time. And so I said, well, we'll just start off. We'll do a year. I have time. I had not gone back to public school teaching.
Yeah.
And so we just took it a year at a time and started getting involved in some co-ops.
Okay.
So co-ops are kind of a low level, it usually meets one day a week.
Okay.
So you still can do your homeschool the rest of the week, and then you'll go to co-op one day a week. And you might do some fun things, maybe a science experiments class, where all the kids get together and do science experiments. Or one of the co-ops we were in, one of the hours of the day was I forget what they called it. They took old toasters and whatever you wanted to donate.
Yeah.
And the kids got to take them apart.
Oh,
literally.
Man, I would do that class.
That was a fun class.
Well, I know that, like for us, we knew that there were going to be certain subjects we couldn't teach.
Yeah.
Either because of our background, either we didn't know anything about it, or like chemistry, or like some of the things you've already mentioned, there were other things that they needed to do lab-wise or whatever it happens to be, mostly science-related, that we just weren't capable of pulling off as a homeschool.
That is where you get as your kids get older.
Exactly.
You get to the point where either you're blowing up your own kitchen, which most parents...
Which we can do on our own without homeschool.
It's fun to do that at home by yourself, but it's more fun to do that sort of thing with a few other kids.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of homeschoolers are, is that they want to get together with some other kids to do some things that you can't, or it's not as effective to do it. I mean, you can have a class discussion with one person, or just you and your parent. It's better to have a class discussion, and as a teacher yourself, you know that a class discussion has a different dynamic.
Oh, it's far more rich.
A discussion with just, one student and one teacher.
Exactly. And I know that especially in, again, some of the science related things, sometimes you learn more by making the mistakes, and different folks will make different mistakes, and you get to learn even more. So you're exactly right. The more kids in that sort of classroom setting, whether it's science or English or math or whatever it happens to be, it is a far more rich dynamic, because they really do get to, because the other kids are going to ask questions that maybe they have, but maybe they never thought of it. And being able to answer those is a really far more enriching environment. So,
but the beauty of doing it as a co-op or as a parent-directed thing, as opposed to what you get in a traditional school setting, is that you as the parent get a lot more control. You get to pick and choose which things your child is interested right now. If your child is really interested in nature or robotics, then you can find more opportunities. Believe me, there are so many opportunities for all different subjects.
Yeah, I know that
you can go into it. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I know that you've had at Extraordinary Education debates and mock trial and robotics. I mean, some really interesting things that, as an individual parent, perhaps schooling an individual kid would be impossible to pull off. Maybe not robotics, but still coming together as a team and building something and then making it work like you've done in yours is really almost impossible to do as a single child. So, but I know that you've talked a lot about the benefits, especially of the co-op model, but of homeschooling. You want to kind of run through. I know that you've talked and you've made some notes about the flexibility and the cost and some of those kind of things. So I know that if somebody's listening to this, they may be thinking, maybe not, but I know there's some tremendous benefits to being able to.
Well, I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, why would I want to homeschool?
Okay.
What motivates people to even consider homeschooling? Well, in my case, it was academic. My child was not being served at the school.
Right.
Now, for my younger kids, and some of that was academic too, and some of it was actually social, because what I'm seeing, especially because I talk to families all the time that come into our program, and one of the primary reasons people are getting into homeschooling is because of educational academic reasons.
Okay.
Either the school is not meeting their child's need because the child is behind and is not getting the help they need, or because the child is ahead and is not being allowed to advance, not getting the challenge that they need.
Okay. All right.
So there you have the academic reasons, but you also have, and I see this every day, you have a lot of problems that are going on in the school. And I don't know the reasons for this. School is not run the way it was when I first started teaching.
Okay.
So there's a lot of bullying going on.
Okay.
There's a lot of negative behaviors going on.
Okay.
And the teacher's having a harder time stopping it.
Okay.
And there are many different reasons for that. But it's the children a lot of times are not feeling as safe as they used to.
Okay. That's.
So we have a lot of students that come into our program because of negative things that have happened at the school.
Okay. Interesting.
And
there are certain too. I mean, certainly in the area that I sort of orbit in teaching, I know that a lot of also parents have a lot of disagreements with perhaps some of the religious or positions on certain theories of origins of things that they may disagree with as well.
Yeah,
that's true for us.
Curriculum disagreements. You're disagreeing with the way the
Better way to
curriculum
say
is either being presented,
right,
or the worldview that the curriculum is being taught from to start with.
Right.
The underlying premise. Some of our students are homeschooling because of health reasons.
Oh.
There's a lot of requirements for attendance and things at the public school system.
Okay.
And if you have a chronic condition, a lot of times you have difficulty attending school all the days that are required.
Okay.
And so a lot of people get into homeschooling because their child has a chronic condition.
Oh, interesting.
Lyme disease is a big one. Really bad allergies.
Right.
And we just have a lot of different students that have those kinds of things. But in homeschooling, of course, you can adjust to when the child has a good day versus a bad day.
Right.
Oh,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there were that many that would come in that were health related. I could see the other ones because we've been in that, but we hadn't. We were while our son experienced allergies, as you've already mentioned, and it was kind of chronic. I guess thinking back on it, that probably was the reason why we did as well, although it wasn't the top reason. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that would be one of the top reasons.
We have other people that are homeschooling because their parents have a non-traditional job or a non-traditional hours of their job.
Okay.
And they want to be able to have more family time whenever the parent has time to have family time.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Possibly, people that have this sort of situation might be pilots or firefighters or people that are on several days and then they're off for several days.
Okay. Factory, first responders.
People that work in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Or they have to sleep during the day. There's just different situations why families decide, or the parent travels a lot.
True. Right.
And so you get the chance to, some families will do it because they can travel together as a family. I've known families that lived in their RV and traveled the country, and that was their homeschooling.
Yeah, my family wouldn't survive that. No, rather, I wouldn't survive that. They would kill me. So, well, we need to take a quick break here at the quarter of the hour. When we come back, I certainly want to make sure that we start talking a little bit about the specifics of extraordinary education, because you have a very, I think, unique offering in the public school, private school sort of way that you've constructed your offering. So I definitely want to talk a little bit about the specifics when we come back from break. So you're listening to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. We have Elise Eaton from Extraordinary Education in the studio. We'll be right back after this break.
Lone Star Community Radio presents the Lone Star Radio Troupe. This talented cast will perform radio plays right here in the Lone Star Studios located in downtown Conroe. There will be a new performance every first Sunday of the month. And if you miss the broadcast, just go to Lone Star Community Radio's podcast or YouTube anytime during that month. Go to our LoneStar.com archives to find the Lone Star Radio Troupe's latest play that's available. This is Lone Star Community Radio, Conroe's 104.5 FM and 106.1 FM community station. Find us on the web at irlonestar.com. Lone Star Community Radio is a supporter to the performing arts in Montgomery County, Texas.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776 with your questions. Get seen on TV, YouTube, and heard on our podcast, FM, and internet radio. Support your local radio station with Lone Star Community Radio.
And welcome back to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. We have in studio today Elise Eaton, who is the founder and director of Extraordinary Education. We're talking about homeschooling and the benefits of homeschooling and some of the reasons why parents are homeschooling. And we've talked a little bit about Elise's own experience about how she got into homeschooling. And then ultimately now she has founded an organization called Extraordinary Education, which is just south of where we are here, just, I guess it would be sort of southwest of the Woodlands, down 2978. So I'll kind of turn it over because we'll have about 10 or so minutes in this segment to wrap up what we've been talking about, because I definitely want to talk to her or have her talk about what she constructed and why she constructed it the way she did, and the benefits, and how to, if people are interested, your website and all of those sorts of things. So.
Well, one of the reasons that I started Extraordinary Education was because I wanted it for my own kids. Okay. And it didn't exist, and the easiest way to make it exist was to make it happen.
Do it.
So I did start off, being involved with some co-ops when they were younger, and then as they got a little older, like you said earlier, I needed more actual help. Even though I'm a certified teacher, I'm not a specialist in mathematics or various subjects, and people I knew were. Right. And you'll find in the homeschool world that you have lots of really, really great resources. Yes. And it made more sense to band together with some other people and each person do the thing that they were good at. So I started looking for outside ways to supplement what I was doing at home. Okay. And through that started some co-ops, and they just kind of mushroomed. We'll just say as my kids got older, I had more needs, and other people I knew had other needs, and we just kept adding to it till it kind of grew into this really big thing.
This multi-headed hydra that's called.
Yeah. So what we try to do is,
but it's really a cool place. I mean, if you haven't visited, it's on this beautiful little piece of property. It's really a neat neat place to have school.
What we try to do is we try to meet all the different kinds of needs that the families that are part of our group are needing to meet.
Right.
So, of course, we can't do everything, but we do as many things as we're able to. Because I believe that education is way more than just books and traditional curriculum. Right. Our saying is thinking outside the box, education outside the box. So the box being just the very narrow definition of what we consider education.
Okay.
So we try to offer things that are, yes, things that would fit in the box.
Sure.
Math, or traditional math courses, traditional English courses, science courses, things
right.
like that. But we also offer other things, different kinds of science courses. We did biotechnology, dual credit biotechnology last year. We are
splicing a grasshopper with something, wasn't it?
Yes.
I remember hearing about it. I was like, well, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
You got Maker Barn is also on. I know it's not
we have
technically
a maker space on our property. We
Yeah.
have an organic garden, and you can take organic gardening classes. We have
a whole art,
a wildlife habitat,
right.
Native plants. We have a really great art program, robotics team, a mock trial team.
Yeah.
We have, we've got a variety of different kinds of teams and competitions that the kids can be involved with, so that you can apply what you've learned through a team. One of the things I guess we're a little light on would be things like a football team or a baseball team, but if you're a homeschooler and you want that, those things do exist. A lot of parents get concerned that if I homeschool my child, they won't be able to do these extracurricular things that they have at the traditional school.
And sporting is one of them, and even something as simple as the prom.
The prom. We have my kid just went to a homeschool.
Yeah. There's a lot of those that are available.
Homecoming dance.
Yeah.
It was with one of the local homeschool football teams, and they had a homecoming dance, and there's just a whole homeschool community.
Right.
So our school isn't just us. Our school is all of us.
Right. And now talk a little bit about the structure of the curriculum. I know it's more of a, these are my words. I don't think you've ever used these words, although I may be mistaken on that. It's more of a college style. And maybe you have used that sort of, because you can come and take this class, and this class, and they may be on Tuesday from 9 to 11 and Wednesday from noon to 1. And you can sort of pick and choose based on the child's needs, the student's needs.
Yeah, our model is much more like a community college for kids.
That's a better way to say it.
Than it is a school.
Okay.
And we don't consider ourselves to be a school.
Right. I wanted to make sure that people heard
your homeschool, as we go back, as we spoke earlier, your homeschool is your school.
Right.
We're providing teachers that you can utilize to fit into your homeschool program. So your child can come take an algebra class from our algebra teacher, who's excellent.
She's excellent. As well as science.
But you can teach your own English at home. You may have your own. You may love English, and you just really, that's something you're passionate about, and so you want to do that with your child.
Right.
But you're not passionate about math.
Right.
So you'll find a teacher that will teach your child math. But it does work a lot like a college. So the students will come to class 2 days a week. They'll come to class for 1 to 2 hours per day. And if you've ever taken a college class, it works a lot like that. You will have your lecture time during class. You might have some practice activities during class discussion. You'll have experiments during class, things that you would do with a group of other students.
Okay.
And then your alone time that you would be working, reading a book or writing a paper, you'll do that at home on the other days of the week.
Okay, got it.
So that's kind of how it works. It maximizes your class time. It's more focused on those 2 days a week. And then when you don't need to be distracted by other kids, you can be at home doing it with a parent there to help guide you.
Okay. And so extraordinary education, what is the age range of the teacher offerings that you have
we have
campus?
classes that start with kindergarten.
Okay.
All the way up through dual credit classes.
Okay.
Our dual credit classes are offered through Lone Star and through LeTourneau University.
Okay.
So we have different dual credit classes that are offered different semesters depending on the needs of the students. And those classes are offered on our campus live, not online classes. And we offer everything from traditional math and English to all kinds of enrichment classes. Most of the enrichment classes only meet for 1 day a week.
Okay.
Such as archery or guitar lessons, cooking class, taekwondo. We have a lot of things that you might find in the community, but they're on our campus because students might take math at 9 o'clock and then they might take taekwondo at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And then they might take cooking at 1 o'clock. So it's all right there.
Okay.
You don't have to go running around town to get a lot of different kinds of
And there's also a study hall.
We have a study hall. Students are there in between classes and they don't have a class to take. They can go to the study hall and take their assignments and work on them in there with supervision and somebody that can help them.
And so
but everything we do is a la carte.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to make sure people heard that.
Different than a traditional school where you have to stay all day, every day, and you're going to take these specific classes.
Right.
It's up to you as the parent to decide how you're going to plan your child's schedule.
Okay. And so with just the last couple of minutes that we have left, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way to get all the information you need is on our website, which is Extra Ed, Extraordinary Education. Extraed.org, O-R-G.
Okay.
Extraed.org. You'll find our schedules, our class schedules on there. You'll find a lot of information about our program. You'll find a map. You'll be able to register for classes on there. Yeah,
I was just going to ask you about that. I know that from time to time you have new family meetings and you have you probably do tours. I know that this is probably not a bad time if a parent is listening to this that would want to make a transition into homeschool. So how would
we have our final new family meeting of the year is coming up in another week in December.
Okay.
There's a RSVP form on our website where you would RSVP for that meeting.
Okay.
They're usually twice a month. We have new family information meetings.
Okay.
We do ask you if you're interested in the program to come to our new family meeting.
Okay.
Just so that you get a really good overview of what the programming is and what it is not.
Okay.
It is not sometimes what people are looking for, and we certainly don't want you to feel like you have gotten into something that you didn't intend to get into.
Yeah. Okay. So in our last few seconds, we just want to make sure that if you've been listening, and if you're interested in homeschooling generally, and you want to know more about that or extraordinary education specifically, you can go to their website, extraed.org, not .net. It's .org.
They both work.
Okay, I was just going to say, I was thinking it was .net, but okay, extraed.org. They are located on 2978, I guess from where we're broadcasting in Conroe. It'll be south of where we're broadcasting and sort of west and south of the Woodlands on 2978.
We're actually in Caraway.
Caraway Lane. All right. Caraway Lane is technically right off of 2978. So take a look at their website, sign up for a new family orientation or new family meeting. And I would highly recommend, if you're even remotely interested in homeschooling, go and check them out. We've been associated with them for 3 or 4 years now, and cannot recommend them highly enough. And so, Elise, thank you for coming on and talking about homeschooling and talking a little bit about extraordinary education. We hope to have you on again and talk a little bit more about homeschooling. So thank you very much. We'll be right back after this break.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show. With monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Attention movie lovers, The Ticket Stub is a new radio show servicing Montgomery County that is meant for you. The Ticket Stub is available live every Thursday at noon on FM 104.5 and 106.1, as well as anytime on irlonestar.com. Connor and Dick will let you know what's coming out in the theater, what is worth streaming, and what's going on in the world of film. The Ticket Stub, your home for movie talk.
And welcome back to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. In our first hour, we were talking with Elise Eaton. She is the founder, director of Extraordinary Education. We were talking all about homeschools and as parents of homeschoolers, some of the frustration we were experiencing with public school, and then what caused us to sort of consider homeschool and all the decisions that went into that, and of course, Extraordinary Education. So in the next hour, we're going to spend at least three of our segments with Steve Squire, and he's got an exciting program that he wants to talk about the Operation Blue Elf. So Stephen, and you go by Steve, right?
Steve is good, yes, sir.
Oh, Steve it is. All right. So thank you for coming in. Why don't you take a minute and while we'll jump into the program that you want to talk about. Tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you do. No,
okay,
for
Ted.
the people who don't have the benefit of the camera, they can't see your uniform. So
Sure, Ted. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So again, I'm Steve Squire, and I'm a deputy with Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. I'm actually a specialist, and my primary duty is the community outreach programs and Crime Stoppers. So I get to do all of the fun things. I get to go to all the places where people like to see the police versus what my partners see every day and the people that they have to deal with that need the police.
I gotcha.
So I'm very fortunate to have the job that I have.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your service, and thank you for your brothers and sisters also who are on the force that keep us safe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm here to talk to you guys about Operation Blue Elf. So have you heard about this yet, Ted?
I have not.
Okay.
Other than our exchange, I have not.
All right.
Yeah.
So if I can just start from the very beginning.
Absolutely. Please do.
All right. Well, when Sheriff Ray Henderson took office in January, he tasked all of the sheriff's office, each division, with a boots on the ground program. And what a boots on the ground operation is some way for us to give back to the community. So each division is going out there trying to figure out what way can they impact the area with which they serve.
Okay.
And they've had several success stories. East County, they had one where they went out to an elderly lady's house they identified could not take care of her place. And a lot of our officers took a day off, brought a bunch of equipment over, and spent a Saturday just cleaning up her property, power washing her house. And the end of the story was she was able to put it on the market trying to sell it to get something she can take care of.
Oh, wow.
So we're really trying real hard to give back to our community that support us so great. We're very fortunate to have the backing of the community so that we don't really see on the TV that much.
That is true.
Yeah, Montgomery County is an awesome place to live and work. So Operation Blue Elf was the brainchild of Lieutenant Scott Spencer. He is the lieutenant over the executive division and also the public information officer.
Okay.
And as such, he was instrumental in a lot of the Harvey relief funds, putting together the people who were going out and offering relief, and then trying to cover that and put out our press releases.
Okay.
So he saw the impact that Harvey brought to our county. So he thought, for our executive division, which we have not done a boots on the ground yet, what better way than to give back to them by making the children happy in Montgomery County?
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
So what we're doing is it's a toy drive. We've partnered with a whole lot of big businesses. We have partners that have brought funds to the account. We've got partners that are collection sites, and we'll talk more about those later on.
Okay. Sounds good.
But we're having tons of donations come in from the public in the forms of toys.
Okay.
Operation Blue Elf is set up to where we're serving kids from anywhere from 0 to 15 years of age, trying to touch all of those that have a need.
Okay. So 0 to 15.
0 to 15.
Okay.
That's right. And then what we're trying to do is we're trying to vet these children to truly reach those that have a need instead of those that just want an extra toy for Christmas. And so we've partnered with a lot of our social services and the counselors in all of our school districts to try to bring us those children that truly have a need.
Okay. Now, is there a concentration? You mentioned Harvey.
Yes, sir.
Is there a concentration to those that were most affected by Harvey? Is there Is there an area, or does it matter necessarily?
It does not necessarily
Okay.
matter. It's not necessarily those that were hit by Harvey, just those that truly have a need.
Okay.
And we're
Okay.
relying heavily on those social services and the school counselors and a lot of the neighboring churches to bring those families to us and let us know these people we can help.
Okay.
So a lot of them are being vetted that way. We have a lot of them also going through our chaplains. We have a chaplain, Mike Evans, there at the sheriff's office.
Okay.
And his part of Blue Elf is to try to bring the children to the party. And so he has partnered with a lot of these people to help vet these families and bring these children in.
Okay.
That is our biggest need at the time, is
Okay.
to be able to touch some of these kids that need help
Okay.
and bring them in. So anybody that feels like they might appreciate a toy from Operation Blue Elf or have a child in need that they know of, they can reach Chaplain Mike Evans at his email address. And if I can plug that now, I'll do so.
Please do.
All right, so it's Mike, M-I-K-E, .E-V-A-N-S at mctx.org. Again, that's mike.evans at mctx.org. He is our chaplain there at the sheriff's office.
Okay. And just for our listeners, as well as if you're streaming a little bit easier to get on email, we will also post this to our Facebook page. So we will link the email, Mike Evans at mctx.org. We'll link that from our Facebook page. So if you're following us on Facebook, the Good News Show on the Facebook, take a look at that. In about an hour or so after the show, I will make sure that this is posted, the information is posted, and the email is posted.
That'd be great.
So it's interesting that you say that, because many times there's a shortage of goods, and there's a shortage of toys and diapers, whatever else that we need.
Right.
And here you seem to have the kind of oddly enough, the exact opposite problem.
Well, and again, that's probably because we're very fortunate to live in Montgomery County, where the people's hearts are huge.
That's a real testament to the community, no doubt.
It is. We've had some donations come in the form of money.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about that a little bit. The sheriff's office can't accept money donations. So any monetary donations that come into the sheriff's office would have to go to Commissioner's Court, and it would get tied up that way. But we have an avenue. So we have the Montgomery County Citizen Academy Alumni Association, and they are a 501c3 nonprofit charity.
Okay.
Since they do partner with us, we are funneling all of the donations of cash through them, and then they're going out and buying presents and taking care of any kind of purchases that need to be done to make this event successful.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask. You probably were about to say it, but how can we get in touch with them? Do they have a website or?
Facebook.
How would they do that?
Facebook is the best way.
Okay. Good. Perfect.
So it's MCSCAAA is their Facebook code.
Say it again.
MCSCAAA. They're also linked through our website. So if you go to the sheriff's office website, which is mctxsheriff.org, in the very top right corner, you'll find a communities tab. And under that communities tab, you'll find lots of programs that we offer to the public, and one of which is the Citizen Academy, and thereby linked the Citizen Academy alumni.
Okay.
That's a program that I get to work with directly, which is how I was brought into Blue Elf.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And again, for everybody who's listening, we'll give that again at least a couple more times, and I'll also link it from our Facebook page. So if you're listening and want to help either monetarily, there's an avenue, or if you working through and you have avenues for children who truly have needs, then we have a couple of ways to do that.
Absolutely.
So, good.
Absolutely.
Good.
So, I'd recommend anybody that knows a family in need to contact the school counselor where the kid goes to school.
Okay.
Make a recommendation that they put them on the list for Blue Elf.
Okay.
Or contact Mike Evans directly.
All right. And I noticed from your flyer that you've given that there are at least a couple. Well, there's a number of businesses which I'm sure you might want to give a shout out, but there's also at least a couple of churches.
Yes, sir.
So they have the school counselor, Mike Evans himself, and could they come through these churches?
Absolutely can. Yes, sir.
Are there other churches? Rather, for example, you have West Conroe Baptist and the Ark. If someone is a member of another church not listed on this particular flyer, can they come in?
They absolutely can. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Those two churches are partners that came in from the day one.
Okay,
and they're helping
fair
us
enough.
out. But any church that can identify a need,
Okay.
I would encourage them. Please reach out to Chaplain Mike Evans.
Okay.
Bring us those children, and let us try to give them a happy Christmas.
Oh man, this is great. Okay, good.
All right. So when we vet these kids, we are trying. This is our first annual, so we're kind of learning as we go.
Okay.
So we knew that we would get an outpouring from the public. We were expecting to get quite a number of kids to help, and we just was not sure what we should truly expect.
Yeah.
So we created this list on the bottom of the flyer of
Okay.
the suggested toys that the children might be interested in.
Okay.
And that just makes it easier for shoppers. And so trying to make it easier on you guys, if you just pick an age group that your heart makes you look out for.
Okay.
And just go into one of these generic suggested toys or items and purchase something like that. You can drop it off at any of the numerous locations we have throughout Montgomery County.
Okay.
And just drop it off unwrapped. And then the Citizen Academy alumni, every Thursday night, we stay from 5 until 10 at night wrapping presents.
Oh. Now, do you need help with that? Or you have the wrapping covered?
I think I've got the wrapping covered.
Okay, all right.
We have anywhere from 30 to 50 volunteers, and
wow.
a couple of the neighboring schools, Willis ISD and Montgomery ISD, have criminal justice clubs that have offered to help.
That's got to be so much fun.
It is. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
So we had our first wrapping party the week before Thanksgiving. It went rather well.
Okay.
We skipped last week because of Thanksgiving, and tonight I have no idea what to expect.
Well, it's after Thanksgiving, so it's probably your facility's probably going to be full. And I noticed there's no 52-year-olds here, so I guess I'll have.
Unfortunately, you and I are out of the list
But
here.
I love Legos still. All right. Anyway.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So when the children, when their family goes to the school, the counselor, the church counselor, or Mike Evans, they're given a bit of an application. It's very similar to the form you have there.
Okay.
And they're asked to circle 3 of the toys that they're interested in their age group.
Okay, gotcha.
So every Thursday when we wrap, we're taking a good inventory so we know what we have. And then as Mike vets these children, he's bringing the list to us to let us know this is what has been requested.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, what we're hoping to be able to do is when little Johnny comes to us and he wants a football, we'll know that we've got a football on the list and we can put his name on it.
Okay.
And then he'll get at least one of the 3 toys that he's asking for.
Okay. Okay.
And the monetary donations help out in a great way because when we're done with all of that, if we don't have enough of those footballs for little Johnny,
right,
we can go out and buy those.
Okay.
So that's a big part of the monetary donations and what they're going to be used for.
Okay. Okay. Is there any place? And sorry for asking a question that you never ask a question you don't know the answer to. Is there a place that if you realize that you're running short on a particular age group or gender group,
Sure.
is there a place on a website or your Facebook page that
Absolutely.
says we really have a need here this week, which may be different than a need next week? So you have a place that people can go?
Absolutely. Lieutenant
Okay.
Spencer, again, this is his brainchild, and so he's on top of it. He runs
Okay.
our Facebook page, and we're posting out there. I know we did one I think it was yesterday, letting people know that as of right now, we have the younger ages covered fairly decently.
Okay.
But the teenage years, we don't have a whole lot for.
Okay.
And so if they will monitor our Montgomery County Sheriff Facebook page, it's MCTX Sheriff on Facebook. We're putting out locations where you can drop off the toys, what toys we need, and as we continue to develop this inventory, we'll be able to get a more specific list of guys. This is what we need help with.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's take a quick break here on the quarter hour. We'll come back and continue to talk about this. Now, I want to make sure we say the different Facebook because we have a lot of letters.
Yes, sir.
So we'll make sure we say that at least a couple more times. Thanks so much to Steve. He's in the studio today to talk about Operation Blue Elf. And when we come back from a break, we'll continue our conversation. Talk to you right after the break.
Hispanic Chamber Connections with Dr. Carlos Sanchez, president of the Woodlands Conroe Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, featuring event announcements, member highlights, and more. Tuesdays at 1 p.m., broadcasting from the heart of Conroe, Texas on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Just contact the station on irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
It makes me feel like it makes me feel like
And welcome back to the Good News Show. We are talking with Steve Squire, and this is just a wonderful program. The more I'm learning about it, the more I'm just so it just warms your heart that the people who serve us and protect us are going just so far through an extra mile to give back to the community that it is already serving. And I just think it's just a really wonderful story that you really don't hear much about. And I guess before we jump right back in, let me just remind everybody that you are listening to Lone Star Community Radio. And we say, if you're zooming up, if you're doing the speed limit, up and down 45, because I don't want to sick Steve on you. You're listening to us on 104.5 or 106.1. And if you get to your destination and you want to continue to hear what we're talking about, especially now with the Operation Blue Elf, you can pick us back up and stream us live on irlonestar.com. Now, where we left off with Steve is that we talked about a number of places that you can go to get information. We will link to those through through our Facebook page, but I know you also want to talk about the Citizens Academy. So before we get to that, let's just remind everybody, if you're interested, how they might be able to get in touch with the various organizations. So kind of break it back down for us.
So if you have a family in need and you know of a child that could use a Christmas present to brighten up their their December, you can reach out to us in 3 different ways. The most common way would be through your school counselors. Perfect. They're vetting a lot of the children. Perfect. A local church would be a great point of contact, and they can get in touch with our chaplain, Mike Evans. Okay. Or you can reach out directly to Mike Evans at mike.evans@mctx.org, and he'll help you get involved.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I know you want to talk a little bit about
the Citizen Academy.
Yeah, what's driving a lot of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is a wonderful program, it sounds like.
Yep. So first off, we'll explain what the Citizen Academy is, and then we'll go into what the alumni is.
Perfect.
So the Citizen Academy was started about 14 years ago. Actually, Rand Henderson, our current sheriff, started class number 1. So I understand he backs the program a lot.
Okay.
So the Citizen Academy is a free class that people can sign up to go to. I'm fortunate enough to be able to lead that class currently, and we have 2 of those classes a year.
Okay.
So all they are they're 12 weeks of classes, going to class 1 night a week for about 3 hours. And then during that 3-hour time, we bring in different elements of the sheriff's office to kind of introduce you to the men and women that we have, the tools and training we have, the missions, and really get you to understand what is it like to be on our side of the badge.
Oh, I can't imagine.
So, it's a great program.
No, it's a great program. I can't imagine what it's like to be on the other side of the badge.
Well, maybe you should come to class.
Exactly. But yeah, I think it's a good idea, actually.
It is. We reach all kinds of people.
I would love to.
And we've been very fortunate. I've had the majority of people coming in already support us. But I've had people that come from the other side that they want to know what it's like because they don't trust us. And through this program, we're able to teach them a little bit more about who we are and why we do what we do. And we've developed a lot of friendships. We've changed some minds. And we've made lifetime partners and friendships with the members of our community through that program.
That's great. Now, and so this is a place that if somebody wanted to come to the class, they come to
the sheriff's office.
Your location,
Absolutely.
to the sheriff's office. Do you ever do anything like this out in public? Do you do them in schools or?
Well,
because we just talked to a homeschool group. I would think that they would be a perfect avenue. But again, not knowing.
No, you're perfect. Great lead up. I'm actually in the development process of starting an Explorers Post, and it's exactly what it is for school-age children. And so you can kind of akin it to a police academy for students.
Okay.
And that'll be aged from 9th grade till 12th grade.
Okay.
And we're trying to reach out to the students that are minded to, they think they want to become the police.
Yes.
And that way we're going to give them a real good understanding of what it is we do, the kind of training we have. That way they know what they're kind of gearing their life towards.
Right.
And hopefully doing that, we'll be able to reach them before they start making some of those bad decisions that can affect them when they grow up to be adults and trying to find a job.
Yeah. Well, I know growing up, I always either wanted to be a policeman or a fireman.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still the case. I think most people, or most of the kids growing up, because I have a teenager, want to do more gaming.
For sure, yeah.
But so I think this would be excellent. So it's still under development, so it's not yet out in the world.
The kid portion of it,
the
correct.
Kid portion of it, yes.
Blue Elf kind of put us a little behind schedule. I was hoping to start in January, but I'm still pushing really hard to start it before this current school year is over.
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay.
But back to the Citizen Academy class.
Stay tuned for that.
Yes, sir. Stay tuned.
Perfect.
The Citizen Academy class, during that 12 weeks, we bring in a lot of elements, such as SWAT and hostage negotiations for one night. We bring in canines. They get to see me run from the dog and see that I don't usually get very far. And so it's a lot of fun. We kind of gear them up to where toward the end we play where you guys play the role of police, I play the bad guy, and then you get to really feel what it's like to be on my side of the badge.
Oh, wow.
And so we gear up, and you guys go through scenarios for family violence, traffic stops, mentally disturbed individuals, and really see the hesitation it takes whenever you're pushed to the point where you have to defend yourself. And it opens a lot of eyes. Everybody's terrified to go through it the first time and can't wait to go through it the second time.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun once you get over that initial fear of you're acting out in front of your whole class.
Right.
But those that graduate the class can join the alumni. We usually have a very high percentage of each class join the Alumni Association.
Okay.
And we currently have 94 members of the Alumni Association.
Oh, wow.
Now, the alumni, their mission is to support not just the sheriff's office, but any law enforcement and military, and really any first responder in Montgomery County.
Okay.
And they do that by raising money outside of Blue Elf. They raise money to where if there's an officer or a first responder who's been injured on the job, they're able to help them out. They've bought equipment where there's not an agency budget to do that.
Okay.
They do things like on New Year's and July 4th, they often do giant cookouts and feed all the officers, not just the sheriff's office, but everyone that comes to the jail to drop off their person that can't act right during those party nights.
Gotcha.
To really say thanks to the officers that are having to be away from their family during the holidays.
Yeah.
So they're an amazing group of people.
Okay.
So they got behind Operation Blue Elf, and they're full steam ahead.
Okay.
They are, like I said, they're doing wrapping parties to help us wrap all these presents, inventory the presents, move them around, all the monetary. We actually had a big team of the ladies went shopping on Black Friday.
Okay.
And I don't know about you, Ted, but I won't brave Black Friday.
No. I much enjoy sitting behind the computer screen with a mouse.
Oh, yes, sir.
And my Amazon account.
Yes, sir. That Monday is the perfect day for me, too.
Exactly. Yeah, because we've seen some of the YouTube videos of things that didn't go so well.
Indeed. My wife enjoys that, and I tell her, you have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me know if you need me.
Yeah, there's turkey left over.
Yep. But they went out and they did a huge success with shopping and bringing in a bunch of the toys themselves for Operation Blue Elf. And
okay.
We're moving on.
Good.
Yes, sir.
So the Academy, just to make sure that we heard it right. So when's the next sign up, and how would somebody who just heard that said, I'd kind of like to do that?
Yep. Well, that same link that we talked about to reach the Citizen Academy.
Okay.
So they go to the Sheriff's Office webpage, and that is mctxsheriff.org.
Okay.
They look in the top right corner for the Communities tab.
Communities, okay.
And when they click that, they'll see Citizen Academy.
Okay.
There'll be a brief write-up about what the program is, the current schedule, so they can kind of get an understanding of what they'll be exposed to.
Okay.
And then the application and my contact information.
Okay.
I am currently taking applications for the next class, which I plan to start mid-February.
Mid-February, okay.
Yep. And it'll last again for another 12 weeks. We will take off for any kind of holiday. So this current class, we took off the week of Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We're going to graduate the current class on December the 12th, I believe.
Oh, wow.
In just a couple of weeks.
And so what is there an age restriction?
There is
18 and above or
exactly.
21 and above?
Yep,
okay.
18 and above, just because of the things they're exposed to.
Okay, I can imagine.
And then hopefully when we get the Explorers program, we'll be able to touch those kids in a lot younger age and bring them in and kind of do something similar for them.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
Good.
So Blue Elf is it's being out really successful, and if you have a place that you'd like to drop off at, we can talk about the drop-off locations. We can talk about the partners, whichever direction you want to go.
Yeah, definitely. So I know that there are. It looks like even just from the flyer, there's a number of places that if people want to get involved, we've already talked about the needs through your Facebook of saying, well, we've got this age group covered, or we've got this set of presents covered. We need this. So if somebody is listening to this and want to get involved and they've got a present, so take us through how they say, okay,
sure.
Where would they bring them?
Yeah, so several drop-off locations to include Margaritas and Peppers, Spirit of Texas. All of the First National Bank locations and Wood Forest National Bank locations in Montgomery County are partnered with us. Joe's Italian Restaurant, the Ark Church, and West Conroe Baptist Church are several locations. Okay. And we've had several that have joined in since we've kicked off Blue Elf.
Okay.
To include the Loop Cleaners, both locations, the Academy Daycare, Woodlands Joint Powers Association, Pepsi. Actually, the Pepsi distribution over there in Loop 336 is a big partner of ours. Tall Pine Storage, both locations, Dollar General, and Deborah's Boutique over on Highway 105 East. All are places you can drop off at, and they're helping us out to gather those toys.
Okay. Yep. And so just to make a reminder, we have the Christmas list. It's broken down by age group primarily. And when someone goes and buys a present or multiple presents, you want to make sure that they're unwrapped. Right.
Absolutely. That way we know what we're giving the kids. We don't want to get our toy that's maybe used or damaged. And also we can account for what is this toy because we want to match that with what the child is asking for.
Okay.
So we understand that a lot of people might just grab a little toy as they're shopping and it might not fit our list. We'll accept that.
Okay.
But if you're going to go out looking just for a Blue Elf toy, find our flyer on our Facebook page or on your Facebook page shortly. And then try to shop for some of those toys that are on the list. And that makes it a lot easier for us to match with what the child is asking for.
Okay, very good. So they would go and purchase the gift. They according to the age, and they drop off the presence at the locations we've already talked about. So I think as I'm sitting here and I'm trying to put myself as a listener, and I want to just, before we go to the break, one more time, talk about the 3 areas that we can get in touch with them. Okay. And get in touch with you.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes if you're zooming up and down and you're not quite sure if I heard it correctly, we want to make sure we remind people how to get in touch with you. And then we'll take our bottom of the hour break and then come back and we'll wrap up.
Sounds good. So again, if you've got a family in need, please reach out to your school counselors. That way they can reach out to us and help us vet the child. You can also reach out to any of your local churches and they can contact our chaplain, Mike Evans. Or you can contact Chaplain Mike Evans directly at mike.evans@mctx.org. And then we'll be able to get in contact with those children and families and make sure that everything's planned and taken care of.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. We're going to go ahead and take our bottom of the hour break, even though we're about a minute or so ahead, because I want to make sure that we wrap up and remind everybody about maybe some of the specific needs. We talked about the Facebook, and while people may not be in front of their computers, we want to talk about what maybe some of the immediate needs are. We'll be right back after the break. Talk to you in just a moment.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
And welcome back to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. In the studio today, we have Steve Squire. He does quite a bit, actually, as it turns out. But one of the things he's talking about today is Operation Blue Elf. And it's really been a terrific conversation. We were just saying that while we were at break that I have no idea what it's like to be a police officer. I've never been one, but I can just imagine that you're always seeming to deal with things and people that are not always on their best behavior. And it really is heartening to me that you have this program, Operation Blue Elf, as well as your Citizen Academy, that give you hopefully just a glimpse that there is a big swath of the public that really appreciates you.
Absolutely.
And that you say that you feel the love. So I'll let you, if you talk a little bit more about that if you'd like. But I just want to remind people that if you're out and about, you're listening to us on 104.5, 106.1, and you can certainly pick up the show as you get landed in your destination on irlonestar.com. Of course, there on our website, you can pick up older shows that have already aired. You can watch the video or listen to the audio. You can also subscribe to our podcast or our YouTube channel, or download the app. So you have a number of ways to get in touch with us and watch our shows and stream our shows over and above just simply the live broadcast that we're doing right now. So, well, let's pick it back up. I know that you have some new information as well as some information you want to reiterate, because we did cover quite a bit and covered quite a bit of Facebook pages and websites and email. So why don't you take it where we just talked?
Just to kind of pick up on what you said during the introduction back, we really do feel the support of the people here in Montgomery County.
Yeah.
Sheriff Henderson's push to go into more community-oriented policing has it's starting to net a lot of rewards.
Good.
Not just for us, but also for the communities. We're really starting to develop those relationships, whereas we didn't have them as strong before.
Yeah.
And we're starting to really feel the love from the communities, and we know we have the support. It's really unlike what Hollywood or TV wants to show you here in South Texas.
I know, and again, I know there's probably some things that I can say that you can't. So but you do. It is, and one of the reasons why I even created this show, the Good News Show, was that, for 24/7, we're just bombarded with bad news. And a lot of the bad news, I'm sorry to say, has to do with conflicts between people who are not doing the right thing a lot of the time, and conflict with the police and law enforcement. And I think you're right that, again, I won't ask you to neither confirm nor deny what I'm about to say, but I think it is sad to me that you can watch the news and you can get a horribly skewed idea that the police are somehow or another not here to protect and to serve, but rather to do harm. Sure. And I know that is certainly not the case, even though, again, I've never walked, so to speak, in your boots with your badge. But
I think a lot of times that perception that's portrayed isn't necessarily always out of malice, but maybe ignorance.
Of course. Yeah, I'm not attributing cause or motive for that, but it is skewed to one. And I'm wondering how much other behavior is triggered by that skewed view of the police. And it's just, again, it doesn't take very long to watch your cable news on the evening to realize we have a problem.
Yes,
in America.
Yes, indeed. And that's another reason why the Citizen Academy is so important to us, because we're able to kind of get the real deal out to people.
Yeah.
And another one of the missions Sheriff Henderson has tasked us with is to go out there and get news directly from the sheriff's office. And so all of our news is released through our Facebook page,
right,
through our PIO, Lieutenant Scott Spencer. It goes out directly from us to you guys, and that way there's no editing, there's no misinterpretations. You get the real story from the real people who were there.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. I hadn't really thought of it like that. But while we can certainly sit around and bemoan the not so pleasant side of social media, one of the upsides to social media is you do have a direct conduit to your viewer, to the listener, to who it is you want to communicate.
Absolutely,
it's unfiltered. In that you get to communicate, your message direct. I think that is a good and upside to social media.
Yep, and success is starting to be a little painful. In this county where we have over 500,000 people, we only have about a little less than 30,000 followers. But we're already starting to feel that we are having a hard time keeping up with the communication back and forth. We've been doing our best to respond to questions and comments and stuff directly. Lieutenant Spencer and I are the only two that play with that. And it can be a challenging endeavor to try to monitor Facebook and keep it as real time as possible back and forth with people.
Right.
So
interesting. That's so 3 million. You say 3 million?
It's 500,000, 500,000.
Excuse me, 500,000. So 30,000. So if you're listening right now, run to your computer, not while you're driving, and sign up for the Facebook feeds. Certainly, generally speaking, but more specifically for Operation Blue Elf.
For sure. There's lots of information about Operation Blue Elf. We'll be talking about our successes, our needs, and you'll get the straight information of what toys we need and how you can help us to make this very successful.
Okay, good.
So, Ted, you ready to learn about what Operation Blue Elf will be at the very end?
Yes, please.
So our vision, our goal is it's going to be a private venue. So we're only going to invite the families that have been vetted, that truly have that need.
Okay.
Instead of opening this event up to the public where we could have thousands of people come and kind of take some of the stuff away from these families who have need, we want it to be special to these children. So we've got a private venue set up. It'll be on a Wednesday. I won't release the date just yet.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but it will be on a Wednesday, and we'll go pretty much all day. So the families will come in on their time, not whenever we tell them to be here.
Okay.
We're going to set up an event that will be akin to a national night out, where we're going to have all of our big equipment and trucks out. They'll see our SWAT vehicles, our command center, a lot of our police cars, a lot of our specialized units will be there and present, but also a lot of the community partners that have come to us. So like the Leadership Montgomery County, Waste Management, HEB, Kroger's, Wood Forest, all of those kind of vendors will come out, set up a tent. Again, a lot like National Night Out, where they'll have their own little segment to give. There will be their swag items they'll give away and stuff. So when the family arrives, they're going to check in. What we hope to do is be able to pull an officer and dedicate to that family. And then hopefully one of our civilian partners will do the same. They'll send us one of our civilian partners, and then there'll be 2 people dedicated to that family while they're there for Operation Blue Elf.
Okay.
They'll take that family and do the whole tour of all of the vehicles, all of the tents and things that we have set out for them, give them a teddy bear when they first arrive, and just kind of walk around the whole thing.
Oh, this is so Cool.
We hope it turns out as great as we plan.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll actually be better.
I hope
because
so.
you'll be able to see these little faces and
for sure.
that would not otherwise have had. So I can't imagine what it must be like to be on those Thursday wrapping sessions and then to see the kids open it. I mean, how.
That's going to be the most rewarding.
That's going to be the best.
I can imagine. Yes,
yeah, it's going to be the best.
So we'll continue to post those presents so people will be able to see our successes with what we brought in.
Right.
So once the child checks in, we're going to send someone from that check-in table back to the back where we'll have all the presents, and that present will already have that child's name on it.
Oh, wow.
So we'll find that present, we'll bring it up to the stage while they're going around all of the venue, and then they're going to be brought up to the stage and get to sit with Santa, get the present, possibly get a picture with the sheriff.
Okay.
And then as they open the present and walk off the stage, we're going to have 4 more bins of smaller toys for them to choose from. So coloring books, Beanie Babies, stuff like that. So hopefully each child will leave with about 3 separate gifts.
Okay. Well, what a night. Or day.
It's a day.
Actually, I'm sorry. It's the entire day.
It'll be a day. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I really look forward to it. I just can't imagine how this is going to turn out.
Yeah. Well, and I think, too, as you've already said, one of the things that you're doing, in addition to serving the need of the specific family or the specific child, I think this is going to travel a long way for the community in general. Because while only the families and the people associated with the police,
sure,
your group will be there. If you're taking the pictures or releasing the videos and so forth, I think it will go a long way to continuing to build the bridges and the relationship with the community when they see you're just like us.
Yes, yeah. Well,
you're
that's
not
exactly
some
right.
strange other people that that are here, but you're here, and even more so, you've given your life to serving others, and even more so during Christmas, are you serving others that are truly in need.
Well, people don't put on this uniform because they want to get rich quick.
Right.
They put on this uniform because they have a huge passion or compassion to go out there and just make a difference in their communities.
Right.
And like you said, we're not them, we're you.
Exactly. And you're seeing people, in many cases, I'm sure, at their most desperate time of need.
Oh, yeah. There's the saying in law enforcement that we meet you on your worst day ever.
And that's true.
Yeah. You don't call us until it's absolutely the last thing that you can think to do to call us to help you. It's your worst day ever. Either you're a victim or you're the person that victimized somebody.
Right.
In either case, you're not having a good
day. It's like the great and terrible day. Right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I know that certainly I don't like to see the blue lights or maybe multicolored lights in my rear view mirror, but I sure love to see you when I need you.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's. I know we have about 4 or 5 more minutes before we take our mid quarter hour break. So why don't we run through again? Make sure if people are listening to this, what this is. Just do another quick summary.
Okay.
Some of the partners, some of the current needs that you have, and then the current drop-off locations. Just kind of run through it one more time, because sometimes people are joining us mid-conversation, or they're coming up and down in their car. So why don't you just take the next 3 or 4 minutes and kind of go through it one more time for us.
Sounds good. So
yeah.
Operation Blue Elf, Montgomery County Sheriff's Office way of giving back to our community. So we are taking Christmas gifts for ages 0 to 3, 4 to 7, 8 to 11, and 11 to 15.
Okay.
All right. As I've started to look at all the toys that we're wrapping and come in, and I didn't tell you, but my office, my Tahoe, and a storage facility, they're full right now. So I think tonight's wrapping event is going to be very busy.
Okay.
But,
and just to make sure, you have plenty of people to do that. So you're not making a call for...
We're not calling for help to wrap. I've got between 30 and 50 volunteers.
Yeah, perfect.
So we're good on wrapping at the moment.
Okay, gotcha. Stay tuned on Facebook.
Stay tuned.
Okay.
But at present, it appears that we have toys coming in more for the ages of 0 through 7.
Okay.
And so for the older kids, that's where we could really use the help on the toys, specifically the 11 to 15-year-olds. I don't see a lot of the toys in that age group.
Okay.
Those kind of toys would include stuff such as arts and craft supplies, books, journals, jewelry, hair accessories, makeup, nail polish, wallets, purses, the kind of things that young adults would really like to help them feel like they're not a kid anymore. Maybe also watches, sports gear,
earbuds.
Earbuds are huge.
I can imagine.
Yep. They even have bikes and blankets and jackets and board games on there. So lots of things to choose from.
What about, as I look through this, I know my son, who is in this, well, actually just now out of this age range. What about gift cards? Are gift cards acceptable? I see most of this is is like hard items. Are gift cards okay? Or?
So any gift cards that come in, our alumni will be using those to go out to try to purchase these items.
Okay.
So we would prefer if people want to give to go ahead and buy the item of their choice.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap it.
Okay. And you mentioned at the top, so where we've talked about gifts specifically, if people wanted to make a donation, how would they go about doing that again monetarily?
Yep.
I know you would prefer the gift.
Sure, but monetary donations are helpful as well, and they can be provided to us through the Montgomery County Citizen Academy Alumni Association.
Okay.
And you can find that information on the Sheriff's Office website, mctxsheriff.org, Communities tab, and then Citizen Academy. It will have all the links over to their page. We actually had to go through a bit of a trouble because we finally set up to where we can accept PayPal donations just for this.
Okay.
So we will have that on the Citizen Academy Alumni's Facebook page, hopefully in the next day or so.
Okay, perfect.
People can make monetary donations directly.
Okay, perfect.
Most of those donations will be tax deductible because it is a 501c3 nonprofit.
Okay.
And so any of the donations that people are making, they can take off their taxes.
Okay.
For helping the kids of Montgomery County.
Perfect. Okay.
Yes, sir. So a lot of our partners would include
Yes.
Wood Forest National Bank, and you can drop off at any of their locations.
Yeah, these are all the drop-off locations.
Yep. Leadership Montgomery County is helping us out in a major way. Waste Management as well as HEB. McLEA, which is Montgomery County Law Enforcement Association, has helped out quite a bit.
So, for example, HEB, just to make sure if people are listening, some of the other businesses may not have storefronts, like a Waste Management may not have.
Sure.
But HEB would be one that would be very common. Is there a bin, or is there some place that,
so
that
these that I just talked about are our partners. They brought us some kind of a donation
I'm
to help
sorry.
this program.
Okay, gotcha.
But the drop-off locations, like I think you were leading towards?
Yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood.
That's okay. The drop-off locations would include Margaritas and Peppers Mexican Grill, the Spirit of Texas Bank,
okay,
several of the First National banks all around Conroe and Montgomery County area, Joe's Italian Restaurant, Wood Forest National Bank, every location that I know of.
Okay.
The Ark and West Conroe Baptist Church, all of those are drop-off locations.
Okay.
We also have several that have come on board to include the Loop Cleaners that is on in Conroe and in Montgomery, the Academy Daycare over in Magnolia,
okay,
Wood Forest Joint Powers Association in the Woodlands, the Adventure Care Play Care in Conroe, the Ridge Community Church in the Woodlands, the Pepsi Distribution Center in Conroe, Tall Pine Storage, they have 2 locations in Conroe, and then the Dollar General in Magnolia.
Okay.
Deborah's Boutique is also on board over on Highway 105 East.
Okay.
And so lots of opportunities to give. And I didn't say it earlier, but
Yeah.
let me go ahead and say that any one of our Sheriff's Office substations, we also have drop-off boxes out front in the lobby.
Okay.
And so we have 6 substations. So it's definitely going to be a Sheriff's Office somewhere close to you.
Okay, which is good news.
Good news. And, that's right. And you can bring your presence right to us.
Okay, perfect. Wow, this is. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I just was thinking that I need to let everybody know when the last date to drop off presents is. That's kind of important.
Yes.
So originally we were going to cut this off on the 4th, which is just next Monday. We realized that we have a lot of people that may want to deliver after that. So we've extended the location where I'm going to be picking up all of the drop-off locations on the 14th.
14th.
The 14th. So the 13th will be the last day to donate. And then after that, I'll go through and we'll collect all of the boxes and have a massive wrapping party for what's left over.
All right. Perfect. Okay. Well, I think we've covered just about everything.
I think so.
I think we have drop-off locations. We have your Christmas wish list, and in particular the 8 to 15 age range, but more specifically the 11 to 15 age range.
Yes, sir.
We would prefer gifts associated with some of the listings that you've had there, which you've already talked about, but donations are fine, and PayPal will be up in a couple of days. Stay tuned to the Facebook page. Anything else that people need to know about before we go to break?
I think we've covered everything. We really hope that Blue Elf will be great. If you guys have that family in need, please help us find that child.
Okay.
Reach out to us through your local church, through your local school counselor, or directly to our chaplain.
Okay. Well, that sounds fantastic. And don't forget to sign up for the Citizens Academy, which will be coming back up in mid-February.
Yes,
so
sir.
come and sign up and put your application in, right?
Absolutely. It's a very rewarding program for both you and I.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, thank you, Steve. We have this has just been tremendous. I'm so glad that you reached out to us and we were able to come in and have this conversation. I hope that we have not only the gifts that are necessary for the 11 to 15-year-olds, but I hope that if there are children and families, but children in need, that they do reach out to their school counselors, that they do reach out to their churches, that they do get in touch with Mike Evans, because as you've already talked about now on a couple of occasions during the course of the conversation, Montgomery County has been exceedingly generous.
Absolutely.
And it would certainly be a shame if this generosity is not met with its appropriate needs. So if you do know, if you're listening now, or if you're picking this up on streaming or even after and before December the 13th, and you know a family who might not have heard this, but if you're listening and you know a family, please let them know that Operation Blue Elf is here for them, and that they will have a good Christmas as a result of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department. And again, thank you so much, Steve, for coming by and telling us all about it.
My pleasure, Ted. Thanks
we will
for having me.
certainly be praying for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, we will take our last break of the show and be back just to wrap up some thoughts, and we'll talk to you just after the break. You're listening to The Good News Show with Ted Cox.
The Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service has been dedicated to educating Texans for over a century. In 1915, the Extension Program was established under the federal Smith-Lever Act to deliver university knowledge and agricultural research findings directly to the people. Ever since, AgriLife Extension programs have addressed the emerging issues of the day, serving diverse populations across the state. Texans turn to Extension for solutions in horticulture, agriculture, 4-H and youth, and family and consumer sciences. Extension agents respond not only with answers, but also with resources and services that result in significant returns on investment to boost the economy. Join us Fridays at 1 o'clock for the AgriLife Extension Hour.
And welcome back for the last few minutes of the Good News Show. You're listening on Conroe's own Lone Star Community Radio. You're probably hearing us on either 104.5 or 106.1, or you're streaming live on irlonestar.com. This is Ted Cox. If you're just tuning in, this is the Good News program, and I'm your host, Ted Cox. I just wanted to say thank you to both of our guests. I think that, you know, when we were originally coming up with the concept of the show and the idea, of course, which lends it to its name, the Good News program, you know, there were so many different things that we felt like we could say and we could program in. And it's meeting people like Elise and like Steve, who really are truly just ordinary people like you and I, who are really doing extraordinary things that get really no recognition. And in both cases, as well as others we've talked to over the last couple of months of the show as it's begun and it's gotten launched, you know, I've been tremendously privileged to talk to folks like this. And, you know, I just want to make, I guess, a couple of final thoughts before we close out for today. I know that we opened with Elise and the homeschool situation. I know as a homeschool parent, if you've been listening to the show and you're considering perhaps homeschooling and you're just scared to death of it, let me just say that there, as Elise did point out, there are lots and lots of good resources for you to tap into that weren't available really even when we launched 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And so if you're considering it, I definitely suggest that you do the homework, but don't be afraid of it. I know that one of the big considerations that we had as homeschooling parents was, were we even up for the task? You know, I have a certain degree, a college degree, and my wife has a certain college degree, and we felt like we had part of his education, our son's education, covered, but we knew that we were not qualified to teach certain things he was going to need. And certainly as his interests progress through elementary school and through through middle school, as he got into high school, we realized that we were not capable of teaching things like physics and chemistry and especially some of the sciences. And if you're listening out there and you realize that, well, maybe I can do the English or maybe I can do the math, but I have no way of doing some of the other things, just know that there are lots of resources. And the reason why I wanted to have Extraordinary Education on, Elise on, was to let you know that if you felt like that you could, as a homeschool parent, wanted to do the best for your child and give him or her the best education in the manner by which you want to bring your child up, and you realize you did have some capability, that places like Extraordinary Education are out there for you to say, well, let me just go and get someone capable of teaching physics or teaching chemistry or teaching just one or two or multiple subjects, but not have your child go into a school and let them be there the entire day. I just need some skill set that I don't have. Or there are also homeschool groups like Homewoods and some other places that are in the area that you can go to get the socialization as well. So don't be afraid is the primary message. Go resource it. There's tons of resources out there. I'm sure you'll do a great job. Any questions, just Facebook me and look out for all the information we talked about on Blue Elf. And we will look forward to talking with you next Thursday. Hope for all the best.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show is recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.